Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I am reviewing the Razer Wolverine V3 Tournament Edition and seeing if it's any good for Fortnite. So this is the controller. Literally nothing else comes in the box except for the controller itself and a wire. And I did put a control freak on the right stick. The reason I got this controller in the first place is that my Elite Series 2 was dying and the bumpers weren't registering correctly. Also, I'm a little bit particular about back pedal layouts, and since I actually use all four, that was something that I need to keep in mind when looking out for new controllers. Another plus is the Hall effect thumbsticks and 1000Hz polling on an Xbox layout controller, but we will get more into that later. First things first, I installed the controller updater software. Its actual name is, what is it even? Razer Controller Setup for Xbox. As you can see, it's not detected right now. I was already using the controller a decent bit before recording this, so I had it in 1000Hz mode. To turn that off, you just have to press a shortcut. And this is where the first issue arises. Even though I reinstalled this software repeatedly, it still gets stuck at 0% every time. And reading the reviews on the Microsoft Store, that kind of checks. A lot of people have been having issues with it, but at least it didn't like break my controller or anything as soon as I got it. So even though the software doesn't work for me, the on-controller button shortcuts were more than enough for me to customize it how I want to. Because the main things for me were to remap all four back buttons and the 2 extra shoulder buttons, as well as turn on 1000Hz mode. The instructions and shortcuts for each of those remapping functionalities is on the Razer website. It's pretty easy to find, but I'll link it in the description. That being said, let's jump straight into the testing. Now, my methodologies aren't as strict as, say, other channels like Gamer Heaven or VQda or any of the other more well-known controller reviewers, but it should still give you a good idea of the controller's performance before we actually use it in-game. First off, we're going to test the 1000Hz mode, and if I remember correctly, the way to turn 1000Hz mode on is to hold the function button, the menu button, and A at the same time. Okay, the light on the controller just blinked. I'm gonna assume that it's switched on. Okay, so this is the polling rate tester I use. Keep in mind this is for polling rate. Even though 1000Hz implies 1 millisecond of delay, it doesn't always work out like that. But for my purposes, this is more than sufficient. If it is 1000Hz, it shouldn't take that long, so let's just do 4000 tests, or 4000 samples, and pick the left stick, and then I'll just spin a circle repeatedly. This is the boring part. Okay, so polling rate max of 1000Hz and jitter of 0.19. Those are all very consistent results and exactly what I was looking for because my other controller is polling rate locked to 125Hz. And next up, we're going to take a look at the joysticks. I've never used Hall effect thumbsticks before, so I'm kind of looking forward to this because I didn't do this part in advance just to check. Okay, as you can see for the left stick, it is very consistent and with basically no dead zone. It's just that the circularity is a little bit off. One thing I'll add is that circularity being off is not that big of an issue as long as it's consistent in the corners, which for these thumbsticks it does appear to be. But let's just double check with the right stick to be sure. And once again, basically identical in all of the corners and nearly no dead zone. And for good measure, we'll just go on the online controller tester as well. And we get identical error for both thumbsticks, but that's okay because like I said earlier, each of the corners is very consistent. I'm just going to free build for a little bit and see how it is. My muscle memory is probably going to be very messed up at the start, so I'm going to click a bot, but it is what it is. And I should have a working controller overlay on the side of the screen. And the reason I'm doing that is simply that I don't want to have a crotch cam on my YouTube channel. Since I hold my controller in my lap, I think that's mad weird, honestly. Okay, so one thing I do notice right off the bat is that it feels smoother. I don't know if that's a placebo or not, but we'll see how it goes. Another thing is that because of the changed paddle position, and since I just started using this, like today, I'm having some trouble confirming my edits, just because I'm not used to the shape yet, but that's not fault of the controller, that's just me being bad and having a skill issue. Because of the shape of the paddles, it kind of encourages you to hit them with the lower part of your finger, whereas I'm used to using my fingertips. A lot of the tasks in this map aren't really meant for controller players, but this one's not bad, so I'm just gonna do non-ADS SMG tracking with this little bot here and see how it is. Okay, so right off the bat, I don't feel any issues with the controller. Whenever I'm missing, I don't feel like there's any amount of lag or anything like that. I'm just bad. And for those of you curious about what my sensitivity is, I am using 2x multiplier for build and edit and 42% for X and Y. For my input response curve, I use linear with no boost, and then 6 and 8% for ADS, horizontal and vertical respectively. Oh, I got full boxed? Okay, we're not gonna talk about that. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I have the 2 extra shoulder buttons bound to reload and switch materials. Yeah, this guy is very passionate about the game.